Welcome into just another episode of Sport Ball. I'm your boy Sam. With me, as always, are Seth and Kyle. Boys, it is our big Super Bowl preview Palooza 2021 big summer blowout. Everyone
But
excited?
not a special episode. Just
No.
another one.
Just because it has a title that includes Palooza doesn't make it special.
Well, we've had like 4 titles that include Palooza, so obviously not.
And not once have we ever mentioned the Palooza of Lala. What are we? I feel like that's the biggest Palooza of all.
I mean, yeah, got to be, right? I don't know about any other Paloozas. So we're recording this on a Wednesday, the Wednesday before the big game. So if anything changes in the next 4 days, it's out of our hands.
Hands are tied.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs again. This time versus the Buccaneers of Tampa Bay. Sunday, 5:30 p.m.
Who's playing?
Chiefs are still favored by
Eastern
3.
Or 5:30 Central.
What's that?
5:30 Eastern or 5:30 Central?
Pacific West Coast Mountain Time.
Really?
Yeah. So the Chiefs are favored by 3 still. Over under is 55.5. Expecting somewhat of a blowout here.
Blowout?
Sorry, not blowout. I meant to say shootout.
Oh, okay, that makes
You know how I
sense.
sometimes just say blow when my mind's on other things. So I think one of these teams we expected to be here, right? That's the Kansas City
You could say
Chiefs.
that.
The other team is a little more unexpected, although I will mention that.
Weren't they the second best odds to make the Super Bowl, though, at the beginning of the season when they signed Tom Brady?
Well, all I know is that a couple of podcasts ago, Kyle and I made a bet who would make it farther in the playoffs, the Cardinals or the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals didn't make the playoffs and the Buccaneers made the Super Bowl, so I don't know what that means for us.
But here's the thing. I quietly hedged that bet by picking Tom Brady in our playoff.
Right, and then I
game.
picked the Buccaneers to lose to the Packers, so I just jumped off that immediately.
So really, who's the real winner here? When I come in first place and win $100-something bucks,
I think the real winner is the listeners.
They were along for the ride.
What I think the listeners have learned from this is that neither of you stick to your guns, and neither of you have any principles.
All I'm saying is that
that's
we bet one mug on this. Yeah. So I should at least get a collection of mugs or something. I don't know. If one team doesn't even make the playoffs, the other makes the Super Bowl, that's got to – I mean, a mug, can I get a cabinet of mugs or something?
See, the ability to reassess and reconsider things is probably one of my biggest strengths at this point in my life, and that's exactly what has happened throughout this process.
Somehow Kyle has turned this around to talk about his biggest strengths.
His biggest weakness is not admitting when he's wrong, which also ties into that same explanation. So let's turn back the clock a little bit and talk about the conference championship games, because we haven't talked to our listeners about that. I know Kyle has at least one topic he'd like to discuss. Chiefs Bills, not too much to discuss there. I feel like Chiefs just kind of dominated that game. Wasn't as interesting. The Bucs Packers game was a little more interesting. Unless you guys have anything you want to say about the Chiefs Bills game.
Bills are who we thought they were.
I think the game went more or less as we expected. Once we knew Mahomes was going to play, and I mean, shout out to the Bills for making it as far as they did. A tortured fan base, a team that overachieved. Josh Allen, who took 20 steps forward that we didn't expect, and certainly a team that has a bright future. Although, yeah, it's just going to be hard, like, for any team to make it out of the AFC unless Mahomes is with the Chiefs. Obviously, football tends to the contenders and the favorites tend to change and cycle, I think, more than in basketball, which is what made the Patriots run so remarkable. But
we might see that run, though, coming from Kansas City, to be honest.
Exactly.
If Andy Reid doesn't retire and Patrick Mahomes doesn't have some serious injury, he's honestly a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the Chiefs Bills. As you said, shout out to the Bills. Great season for them. On the other side, there's
Shout
the
out
Bucs.
Steph Diggs. And also the best win-win trade probably in NFL history.
Yeah.
Incredible, really.
Worked out well for both teams.
Stephon was
It really couldn't have worked out any better for either team.
Yeah.
I know. Stephon was like a favorite player of mine, and obviously he gave all of us fans an unforgettable moment with the Minneapolis Miracle a few years ago, but it just got to a point where clearly he felt like he wasn't being valued in Minnesota, and Minnesota didn't want to pay him, or Kirk Cousins didn't want to get him the ball enough because he's a dumbass anyways. And so he wanted to leave, ended up getting Justin Jefferson out of it, one of the greatest rookie wide receiver seasons in NFL history. And Stephon blossomed in Buffalo and on my fantasy teams. So
how did I know that really, even though we're talking about the Super Bowl, somehow Kirk Cousins would come up?
Well, Sam, you sent me the rumor that San Francisco was trying to trade Jimmy G and like a second and third round pick or something to Minnesota for Kirk Cousins.
Aren't they the same quarterback? Just one's better looking?
And one of them I don't hate.
Right.
And Minnesota was asking for a first round pick in addition. And I'm like, I'll give away a first round pick if you take Kirk Cousins off our hands.
I think it's probably just because of the injuries, right? Because like Jimmy just hasn't stayed healthy at all, so that's probably why you'd have to throw in a pick. But otherwise, they're basically the same, yeah. I mean, I'd rather have Jimmy probably.
I mean, if not for just good looks alone.
Yeah, exactly. You can put him on all your posters. That's way better than looking at Kirk's mug all over.
I honestly don't think Jimmy is that attractive, although he's certainly a step up from Kirk Cousins, whose mouth looks like it was made out of Play-Doh. God, fuck that guy.
Jimmy G just looks too much like when Shrek turns into human for me to fully be into him. I am into that though. So
Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Yeah, exactly. So the more interesting game, I think, was the Bucs-Packers game. Close game, and Packers tried to claw back but didn't, and had a very interesting play that I think we all disagreed with, where they were down 8, had the ball on, I don't know, the 8 or the 9. It was like a deep goal-to-goal situation, 4th down. They decided to kick a field goal.
It was 3rd down. Aaron Rodgers tried to get the ball to Devontae, I think. Had at least 7 yards where he could have ran. Chose not to scramble, decided to throw the ball. Obviously, that choice was most likely made, and I think he even said under the assumption that if he didn't complete it, they'd be going for it. Makes sense, I guess. Still, guaranteed yards, chance for even a touchdown. Should have ran the ball. Shame on you, Aaron, but proceed.
Yes, and then on 4th down, they do not, in fact, decide to go for the touchdown that they sorely need, but instead went for a field goal, which I believe we all lamented at the time and has not certainly aged well since they never got the ball back.
And the field goal just cut it to 5, right?
Yeah, so it turned a 1-score game into a 1-score game.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like all it did is save them for a 2-point conversion if they got a touchdown again. But they were also, I mean, it was a very dumb decision. I think we can all agree. And I think I come at it with like I told you guys, like I feel like Matt LaFleur is a pretty good coach from what I can tell. That was definitely a really dumb decision. Sometimes good coaches make dumb decisions, but Kyle, I know you feel differently. Why don't you just – the floor is yours. Just go ahead and do what we know you want to do.
I've been saying it since day one. Since Matt LaFleur took over. Bad coach. This is the same guy, as I've mentioned, used Derrick Henry as the 1B running back for a year and a half in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, who just won the rushing title, right? Was 2nd in rushing yards last year. We've known this is who Derrick Henry is, and Matt LaFleur did not see that. Same Matt LaFleur who comes to Green Bay and chooses to limit the role of Aaron Jones and not give him nearly as many touches as Aaron Jones most likely deserves. Granted, down the stretch of this past year, A.J. Dillon has the biggest thighs in all of the NFL, so it makes sense to use him some. I just had to talk about A.J. Dillon's thighs. It doesn't make sense to use him over Aaron Jones at all. And he's just been like riding the coattails of Aaron Rodgers' greatness since he's been in Green Bay, right? We all know, right, as much as I shit on Aaron Rodgers just because we're from Chicago and, that's what we do, I still do, he's a good quarterback. He's one of the best. Words that have never come out of my mouth, but that's how much I hate Matt LaFleur. And we really found out how bad of a coach he is when in this past game, when statistically speaking, that's one of the easiest decisions that should have been made, going for it on 4th down, when you have 3 timeouts and still the 2-minute warning. If you don't get it, that's fine. You're still only down 1 touchdown. But now Tom Brady only has the ball at the 8-yard line with, like I said, they have 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning still. So worst comes to worst, right? They force a 3-and-out, or that's, I guess, the best case scenario. They force a 3-and-out, and then they get the ball like the 40-yard line with a minute and a half left and 1 to 2 timeouts.
And you would probably think Tampa isn't as aggressive in the shadow of their own goal line as they were.
It's almost like they would have actually been – they're actually in a better position
if they didn't take the field goal and missed on the 4th down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they had failed, that would have been better than kicking the field goal and making it.
I feel like, yeah.
That's wild. So there are literally 3 scenarios. 1, you get a touchdown. That would obviously be preferable. 2, you try for a touchdown and fail.
Yeah.
3, you take a field goal.
Right.
And they went for the 3rd one, the worst one.
Right.
So again, I just don't think he was put into an extremely opportune position with, as we've all known, one of the best quarterbacks, right? Had an MVP caliber season, but a quarterback that's going to go into the Hall of Fame. And he hasn't done anything with that. Finally he had the chance this season, and honestly, they shouldn't have had that chance in the first place. I don't know what the hell drugs Tom Brady was on in that game where he was just throwing up 30-yard bombs to no receivers, and there's 2 wide open safeties down the field, and threw 4 interceptions in the second half for no reason. So they probably shouldn't even have been that close. And then to be that close and make that such atrocious of a call, it's just, he's not the guy. That front office also doesn't help. Imagine if Aaron Rodgers had a receiver that could catch a pass. They would have converted that easy 2-point conversion early on in the game. Who was that? MVS dropped?
No, I think it was
no, it was St. Brown, yeah. The worst St. Brown brother there is.
I feel like, is there a bigger drop off in the league between your number one wide receiver and the rest of your receivers? Devontae Adams is the best receiver in football, or one of the best, and then the rest of the receivers are below average, I feel. But is there a better collection of names in any wide receiving core in the NFL? I would say no.
The Lizard
That's
King?
definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Equinemius St. Brown.
And then you got Funyon at the tight end.
Yeah,
so,
Funyuns. So
I
Matt
feel
LaFleur is trash, not a good coach. Supposedly they're going to be keeping Aaron Rodgers this offseason. They're not going to
Why would you not? He's going to win MVP.
I mean, why did you invest a first-round draft pick into a rookie quarterback that sucks in the first place, and you're not going to take advantage of his rookie contract?
Yeah, but I mean, you would think they don't want to trade away the MVP of the season. You would think, but
we'll take him.
I feel like LaFleur, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because we had a preview of the Super Bowl, but I feel like their offense has been better since he got there. And maybe like you say, his game management hasn't been great. Maybe it's like a Cliff Kingsbury thing where he has a really good system, but he's just not that good at the in-game management that you have to do when you're a head coach that you don't have to do when you're a coordinator.
I'm not even sure Cliff has a good system anymore. He really fooled me.
Yeah, Cliff is kind of ass.
The wool right over my eyes.
It does seem like they use more motion and stuff, and like I just feel like their offense is more unstoppable than it was under McCarthy. So I don't know. I feel like that side of it
made bad decisions, so
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like that side of it has been good, but there definitely have been head scratcher decisions like the one from the last game. So I don't know, but I do feel like it's like, at least for me as a pretty casual fan who doesn't know that much about football, it's like I don't really understand the system as much, but I can easily point out when they fuck up game management, right? So it's like I don't know if he's a good coach or not, but I know that decision was dumb. You know what I'm saying?
He's not a good coach.
That's kind of how I feel too.
There you go.
Yeah, Sam, I feel similarly because I feel pretty silly overly criticizing coaches when I've never played organized football on any level, and I listen to ex-players on podcasts talking about different schemes and reading the defense and making adjustments, and I don't understand any of that, and I have no idea all of the X's and O's and the knowledge that goes into being a coach. So it's like the worst NFL coach knows 50 times more about football than I do, which is what makes it even more perplexing when there's someone like that it's your entire job to make those decisions, and you're supposedly one of the best 30 people in the world at making those decisions, and then you decide to do something like this. 32 people, I should say. So it's just like, it kind of boggles the mind because I know Matt LaFleur knows more about football than me. So it's like, how could you be that dumb to kick the field goal in that situation? But yeah, maybe it's just one of those things where he's so good at developing the system that the game management stuff is just not his forte. I don't know. Especially, it's also disappointing for him to just double down on it and not admit his mistake afterwards. That makes me respect him less.
Yeah. I also like how I just said I don't know that much about football, and this is a sports podcast that I'm hosting. So, but our listeners, they appreciate the honesty, right? We don't know what we're talking about.
That's right.
All right. Kyle does, though. He's never been wrong, so.
Except when I am, then I admit it.
Obviously. All right. Let's hit the big game, boys. So the first thing I want to talk about is this Mahomes versus Brady matchup. As we all know, this is not a one-on-one matchup. There's the whole teams, but the quarterback, after all, is the most important position. And I feel like this is kind of like if we had gotten LeBron versus MJ in the finals, like in the early 2000s when LeBron was just starting his career, if Mahomes' career continues on the trajectory that it looks like it is, right?
Have you guys seen anywhere them refer to this as the GOAT versus the kid? Because I feel like it should be. Since a kid is a name for a baby goat.
I like that.
I feel like I have seen that, but maybe just in my dreams.
Sports Center anymore, so I wouldn't know. I feel like that's the only place that would put it out and promote it, but you heard it here first.
I'm pretty sure it was on Sports Center's Instagram, but in audio also, you heard it first here. So yeah, so it's like it's kind of like, so if Mahomes wins this, he'll have 2. He'll be pretty much on trajectory to get 6 if he stays healthy, or at least have a lot of shots at it, right?
2 and 3 years starting as well, right?
Right. Which is basically what Brady did. And if Brady wins this, he'll have 7, and he'll have beaten Mahomes in a head-to-head. So it seems like that gives Mahomes a tougher hill to climb to take over the mantle as best quarterback ever. So I feel like that's the biggest storyline in this game. That's what I'm most interested in. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you outlined it pretty well. I think because it's football, because there's so many players, I can't say for sure that just who wins the game is going to determine like how we evaluate those 2 players in comparison to each other, right? If if Mahomes throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and the Chiefs still lose, I'm probably going to think about him just as highly as I do now. And yeah, if Brady, like, I mean, it's kind of a win-win for Brady. He's already cemented his status as the greatest of all time at the quarterback position up until this point. I am never going to be someone who says, like, oh, we'll never see a better quarterback than Tom Brady, because that makes no sense. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know how many more decades of football we're going to play before we've warmed the planet so much that it's so it's like we might see someone who's definitively better than Tom Brady and wins 10 Super Bowls, and his touchdown interception ratio is 8-1 or something, and then we'll all look like idiots. But so I would never say that about anybody. So I do think it's possible that Mahomes or someone else could catch him, but I think it's a win-win for him. Like, he made it to another Super Bowl, and if he loses, well, he already had 6 and he's 43, so you expect him to lose. And obviously if he wins, it's on another level to win at this level at this age. So yeah, it's in one sense it's like a high stakes game and has so much impact on those two players and their legacy. But I also kind of feel like my opinion of them probably won't change that much after the game, unless like Mahomes plays really terribly.
Even if he does, like you mentioned, it's one game.
Yeah.
Granted, this is especially this game, there's going to be more people watching him than have most likely throughout the rest earlier in his career, except for like the Super Bowl last year, right, where he put on a show. So either way, like you said, it shouldn't win or lose. Win, it's definitely going to define the trajectory of his career for other people, even though it shouldn't, based on what we've already seen. Lose, it's going to put I was going to say a sour taste in people's mouth, like, oh, he's not the greatest. But it's like, as you mentioned, right, the Chiefs have a couple offensive line injuries too that they're dealing with. So it's like, that plays a big factor in people that just don't watch football or very casually watch football. It's not something they think about, but it's a major factor, especially in the biggest game of the season and essentially, right, his career up to this point.
Yeah, and it's like I want to talk about Brady for a second here before we really get into the nitty-gritty of the game itself. Like, it's just insane, to make 10 Super Bowls out of 21 years. That's almost 50% of all Super Bowls that you've been in your career, right?
Do you have math in your head?
No.
Okay.
I had to calculate it, and it looked like I had to squint, but it looked like almost 50.
Carry the one.
So I was just kind of thinking about, like, how he's one of the greatest athletes ever. And I was trying to picture in my mind, like, if I were making a Mount Rushmore of all athletes, what would I put on there? And I was thinking he might be on there, right? I mean, I think it would be like Jordan, him, probably Serena Williams.
So you'd say, is this a Mount Rushmore of one player from each sport? That's what it seems like so far.
You only get 4 spots. Much as our real Mount Rushmore is filled with racist presidents. So so
Tom Brady
3
fits right in.
For me. Exactly. For me, I feel like that's 3 locks, honestly. And then, like, I don't know, you could say Ali, you could say LeBron, Bill Russell, Tiger, even maybe Jack Nicklaus. I don't know. It's tough.
I feel like you can't have more than one basketball player on there.
Yeah.
So I would say Serena.
If it's gonna be a Mount Rushmore, it has to be athletes that transcend the sport, right?
I would say Serena, Muhammad Ali would probably be like. But I don't even like boxing. I feel like those would be the top 2 picks.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like,
I don't even know if Brady's included, because did Brady really transcend the sport of football? I don't think so. Not the way like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan transcended golf and basketball.
So you think it's maybe Tiger, Michael, Ali, Serena?
Probably.
I like that. I just wanted to discuss if he
Babe
should
Ruth?
be on there. What did you say, Seth?
Babe Ruth.
Yeah, I had Babe listed. That could be too, or Mantle.
Yeah.
Mike Trout.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Jameis Winston. It has to be discussed.
He's 2B.
Robert Covington or no?
I almost feel like just for like pure star power, LeBron and MJ both deserve to be on there, but I can see not wanting to have two basketball players.
Plus, those aren't even the two best basketball players in history. So,
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder and Robert Covington.
right.
But anyway, yeah, I was just spitballing, thinking about like there's been few 20-year runs like this, right? In any sport. So I just want to recognize that, and it's something we'll probably never see again. But like you said, Seth, maybe we will.
Pele, Messi.
The Tom Brady run is the equivalent of the LeBron run, except LeBron just didn't finish the job. Or LeBron's team didn't finish the job, shall I say.
Not as many times, yeah.
Diana Taurasi?
Yeah, she probably is up there. She's in, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's right, Kyle. Tom and LeBron were the only two athletes to make it to 10 finals since Russell Celtics, right? I think I saw that. So
Mia Hamm. Abby Wambach. Just gonna keep drawing out names until our Mount Rushmore.
Sue Bird.
50 people on it.
I love Sue Bird.
I love Sue Bird.
LeBron loves Sue Bird.
Who doesn't love Sue Bird?
Right.
So anyway,
Federer, Nadal.
Yeah.
Well, they're anti-maskers, both of them, aren't they? So they definitely can't be on Mount Rushmore.
Federer's an anti-masker?
Oh no, Djokovic is, right? That's
what I'm thinking
Djokovic.
of.
Definitely Djokovic.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
Brady
post on
might be
Instagram
too,
and see what our listeners
Brady
think
kisses
about.
his kids on the lips still, so he's definitely an anti-masker.
No one
Rivers?
No one who makes out with his own kid should be on Mount Rushmore.
Jesus Christ.
I'll post it on social and see what our listeners are for people that follow us on social media.
I think
post a
Ali
poll on
and
Twitter.
Serena are the two locks. Those would be my top two picks.
And MJ, I think you have to, even though
It's LeBron and Tiger.
Well, I don't have to.
Or LeBron and Tiger.
Or, I mean,
feel
MJ and Tiger probably. It's LeBron or MJ and then Tiger Woods.
Jack Nicklaus, maybe?
I mean,
If you
I
are
just think
talking
that
about,
Tiger transcended the sport
Yeah.
much more than Jack did.
Or is that
You're
just
talking
because
about,
we had
fame.
more media coverage?
I don't think it
I
really
feel
has to do with media coverage. I think a big part of it honestly has to do the stretch of wins that he had in his prime, like it was like almost 60% of tournaments that he played he won is it's just unheard of. No one will ever touch that ever again.
If you talk about like who at their prime was untouchable in their sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Tiger had years where it was like if you're in a bar and you're talking to somebody and they're like, who's the best golfer? And you can't say anyone but Tiger Woods, right?
There's no hesitation.
Ali had the same thing in boxing, right? Where there was, in his peak, it was like no one could approach Muhammad Ali. Jordan had the same thing in basketball, for sure.
Yeah.
Serena had the same thing in tennis for like her whole career.
Yeah, her entire career. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Tom always had like Peyton and like Drew Brees and people, but I think we all knew deep down. But you also had Bill Belichick
like
too.
Kareem, where it's like
Yeah.
he kind of outlasted everyone, and the greatness over the course of his career was unparalleled.
Is this where the the switch gets flipped on the Brady Belichick thing? Because like Tom's gone and Brady and Belichick they did shit this year, and people are gonna say, "Oh, well, they didn't have a good quarterback. Oh, they didn't have." And it's like
from Kyle, Bill Belichick's a bad coach.
You heard it here first.
Spin cycle, baby. I think this is what happens.
I think my stance is still the same, where I don't think either one could have won as many without the other. So I think that's the case with a lot of coaches and players. MJ and Phil, Brady and Belichick, LeBron and 16 different coaches.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way that Mike Brown could have won as much without LeBron James.
If you have the best player in the sport, right, especially at a certain position, quarterback in my mentioning, right, for football, and that buys in as much as they do to what's perceived to be one of the best coaches in the sport, I mean, it's just you're destined for years of greatness, essentially.
Yeah. So I think my Mount Rushmore would probably be Ali, Tiger, MJ, and Serena. Final answer.
I'm glad we talked you off of Brady.
I just want to have the discussion, you know?
That's fair. Although, yeah.
Although none of it's fair. Sport? What's that? You say is golf a sport? Yeah, we're counting it as a sport for this, and it is, I would say. Okay, enough fucking around. Who's going to win this game? All right, let's dive into that. So I can already tell what we're all going to pick, okay? Me and Kyle are going to pick the Bucs. That's going to pick the Chiefs. It's hard to bet against. I'm so torn,
honestly.
What'd you say?
I'm so torn. I really want to pick the Bucs, but I also really want to see Mahomes win again. However, his fiance and his brother are the most annoying people on social media, so I don't want to see that parade that they post after he wins. Another reason to go for Brady.
It's hard to bet against. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs. I feel like they're like we said, similar to the Warriors, where they can just even if they're down in a game, they can just go on these runs and they just seem unstoppable. So every time you bet against them and they win, you just feel really dumb. But you know what? Every time you bet against Brady and you lose, you feel pretty dumb too. And to peel back the curtain for our listeners, every year Seth and I do a bet on the Super Bowl for $20. And last year I got to pick the Chiefs, and this year when the playoffs started, we decided the Chiefs made it. He would get to wager on them. So I've been trying to talk myself into the Bucs, right? And I think I may have finally done it. I think I've talked myself into it. But I just feel like
that long.
I just feel like if the Bucs win, it's not going to be really Brady. It's going to be more their defense. Like the roadmap for the Bucs to win is the Chiefs are down offensive linemen, as you mentioned, Kyle. Eric Fisher just tore his Achilles in the last game, right? And they also had a couple players opt out. They've had several injuries on the offensive line. So can the Bucs keep that pressure up on Mahomes and make a few big defensive plays? I'm not saying Brady's not going to be great if they win, right? I'm just saying that their defense is going to have to make a few huge plays as well. So I feel like that's the roadmap for them. And I don't know. I mean, gun to my head, I would probably pick the Chiefs, but I feel like I've talked myself into the Bucs having a realistic roadmap to it, you know?
Some people make bets based on what they think is going to happen. Sam and I make bets based on dibs. So, and just trading off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel good that I have the Chiefs this year, and I will be disappointed if they lose and I somehow lose Chiefs bet 2 years in a row, and it's like they win the wrong year. But and yeah, it would also be in a way predictable because I feel like Tampa Bay just keeps screwing me over and over, where I bet against them in the Saints game and they won, and I bet against them in the Packers game and they won, and now I'm betting against them a third time. So it could be a Lakers 2020 playoffs kind of thing all over again. So we'll see.
Now I feel even better because this time I'm on the opposite side of Seth, whereas the Lakers playoff run, it was him and I hand in hand the entire way.
That was
trying to talk ourselves into how they could still lose after they were up 3-0.
I go with a different strategy. I'm gonna tell you this now, even though this isn't an NBA pod, but I'm just picking the Lakers to make the finals this year, and that way it hedges against my emotions.
Right, now I know they're not going to win.
Hey, if they win, at least I win the bet. And if they lose, then I'm happy because I hate the Lakers. So
yeah. Kyle, how do you see this game playing out?
Oh, man. I just don't really see a way that this is, a low-scoring game. It's going to come down to what's being talked about, Tom Brady versus Mahomes. More so, I guess, like you mentioned, which defense really gives up the biggest plays is going to be the team that loses. So, I mean, the Chiefs can't make any of those mistakes that the Packers made last week, where at the end of the first half, 2 weeks ago, at the end of the first half, they allowed Scotty Miller to just prance in for a 40-yard touchdown to end the half. Like, the Chiefs can't make that kind of blunder. But same on the Bucs. Like, each team really has to be on top of it every single snap, because both of these quarterbacks, Mahomes is just too knowledgeable and too good, and Tom Brady's been around for way too long. So he's, they know what they need to do, and they know what they need to look for, especially in the specific moments, those big moments that there's going to be in the game. So it's like, I think it ends up being a high scoring game, 30-something. The Chiefs line of just being favored by 3 is like so fishy to me. It's like, that's such a key number in Vegas. Like, I feel like the Chiefs should be favored more, but
they got big money coming in on Tampa, though. That's why they haven't moved the line.
Yeah. Does Kyle know?
Yeah, Kyle, do you even know how Vegas works?
I know exactly how they work. And that's why the line hasn't moved.
Right.
And that's what's fishy, is if they have this much money coming in on Tampa Bay and they haven't adjusted the line, they're going to keep having that money come in because they think that there's a much better expected value of the Chiefs winning the game by 3 or more points.
I'm betting they're counting on a lot of people betting Chiefs later on in the week, like casual gamblers. We're just like, the Chiefs, That's what I'm guessing is going to happen, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So Kyle was talking about like the Chiefs not making mistakes the way the Packers did. And I kind of feel that that's a good thing for the Chiefs, because it's like Packers had that atrocious end to the first half that you mentioned, and the atrocious coaching gaffe by Matt LaFleur. And they still, like, if it wasn't for that coaching decision, potentially would have had a chance to win the game.
Tom made a lot of mistakes in that game.
Yeah. And so we know Andy Reid's not going to make a horrible mistake like that. Andy Reid's the one coach that Kyle likes.
If anything, he's going to just waste the time out early in the game where he doesn't need to, and it's going to bite him in the ass at the end of the game. But that's really the only mistake that Andy Reid can make.
Yeah. And yeah, so anything could happen. It hasn't happened yet, so we're not sure. But I feel confident in the Chiefs, and I'd rather, as Sam kind of laid out, you're always nervous to bet against Tom Brady, but I feel less nervous betting against 43-year-old Tom Brady than I do betting against prime Patrick Mahomes, however old he is. What is he like? Is he already?
I think he's 12.
Okay.
I disagree with you slightly, Kyle. I think
24, right? 25?
Yeah, 24, 25, I think. I disagree slightly. I think this could go under the total. The total is 55.5. I don't think it's going to be like, 10-3 like the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, but I actually had written down here 29-26 Bucs, which I think is 55 exactly. So I feel like it's going to go like right under.
What do you mean you think?
What?
What do you mean you think it's 55 exactly? 29 plus 26 is 55 exactly.
Listen, we all just walk around saying 2 + 2 = 4 just because they tell us that.
Keep philosophers thinking for a while.
Anyway, I could see it being in like the mid-20s, because maybe that's just because selfishly I feel like that's the easiest way for the Bucs to win this game. I feel like their defense is really a huge part of what got them to the Super Bowl. I was looking at they had 7 sacks and 5 interceptions in their playoff games. They ended the season at second in DVOA in defense, which I love. The Chiefs, meanwhile, were 22nd. So I feel like if this gets into a shootout, I like the Chiefs more. So I'm kind of hoping that the Bucs defensive line takes advantage of the offensive line injuries for the Chiefs, just kind of bullies that offensive line, gets a couple of sacks and a couple big plays, and that really turns the tide of the game for them. So I'm kind of hoping for a mid-20s game. I feel like that's my best shot at the Bucs winning.
Both teams are going to score over 30.
You think so? I feel like I feel like Super Bowls usually go under. Maybe that's just recency bias, especially in the first.
Yeah, we saw the worst Super Bowl ever last year. It's definitely recency bias.
Wasn't that 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. My bad.
Last year, San Francisco, Kansas City was.
I wonder if that one went over. I don't know. It just didn't feel. I always feel like teams get kind of tight and like don't score as much as we think they will. But maybe that's just me anecdotally thinking that.
Sounds like a good segue into the prop bets, huh?
You read my mind, Skippy.
I don't want to take over hosting duties, but.
So we wanted to go over a few prop bets for our listeners, make them some money. I sent Kyle an essay about them earlier in the day, and he's been gleaning it over. I think you actually took the afternoon off.
The anxiety attack I had when I got the size of that text message.
I think you actually took the afternoon off work to just study it. Did you not? So I have 5 here that I like. Well, really, I have 7, but that's just because of me. But 5 really strong ones. I think you guys want to go
pick his top 5. He gives you at least 12.
Yeah. You guys want to just go over MVP first? Because I feel like that's kind of a prop, but everyone wants to know about it anyway. So
there's only 2 options.
Actually, there are many listed on FanDuel from what I was looking at.
Yeah, but
go ahead,
as we mentioned before, the entire narrative about this game is Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. No matter what team wins,
Brady will win.
It's going to be if the Bucs win. I feel like it's just unless there's a defensive player that has like 2 interceptions and like one of them being a pick 6 or something, and a bunch of tackles. I feel like there's no other way that Tom Brady doesn't win MVP if the Bucs win. And the same could be said for Mahomes. Like we even saw it last year. Last year, Damian Williams 100% should have won MVP in that game after going off for over 100 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Yet Patrick Mahomes still won MVP last year. There's just no way that they give it to someone else.
Yeah, I think the only way is like if it's a game-winning play, right? Like you saw in the Patriots-Seahawks game, like Malcolm Butler won the MVP, right? Because it's the game-winning play. So if there's something like that where it's an interception or it's like an acrobatic, touchdown catch.
But even still, that touchdown catch came from a throw by one of the quarterbacks. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, both the quarterbacks have the best odds to win it, and it'll more than likely be one of them. I think the question is if you want to like put in a wager where you have better odds to make more money, and there's a 10% chance or whatever.
Yeah. I did a little research on this so I was like, okay, I want the Bucs to win. If I think the Bucs are going to win, who else could be MVP besides Brady, right? Obviously, I would probably wager on Brady, but what are my long shots? So I was looking back at all the Patriots MVPs, and it's been Brady every year except Deion Branch once and Julian Edelman once. So I was like, okay, maybe a wide receiver would be.
Wasn't he?
What's that?
Didn't Malcolm Butler win, or am I hallucinating about that?
No, I think you're wrong about that.
Wow.
Unless I just looked it up wrong.
I'll check.
Anyway, yeah, you check on that.
I was going to say Seth disappeared. He's checking right now.
From what I can tell from the last 20 years, it's been 12 QBs, 4 wide receivers, 3 linebackers, and 1 cornerback. So I'm like, all right, let me pick 1 long shot as a wide receiver, 1 as a linebacker, right? I almost thought about saying Mike Evans just to piss Kyle off.
That would have been the dumbest bet you possibly could have made.
But I would think if I was doing a wager, which I am, I would think I'd go Brady, Godwin, and then Devin White. I think Devin White would be the defensive player that I would go with. He's 50-1.
See, it's I like it, but it's Devin White or Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, I was just thinking cornerbacks don't usually it's been linebackers that have won it 4 times.
Sure, but when Antoine has when Antoine Winfield Jr. has the game-ending interception, and then he has a pick 6 earlier in the game.
Maybe it's only happened once in the last 20 years. So I was just going, historically, but that's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, but those games have no no meaning to this game. So
Yeah. So I would say I would probably be doing Brady at plus 200, Godwin at 34-1, and then Devin White at 50-1 is my long shots. So mark that down, listeners.
I think
I wouldn't bet on anyone to win
think
MVP besides Mahomes or Tom Brady personally. Everything else is
I think Brady is pretty
EV bet.
Yeah, I think Brady's pretty good odds because obviously there's a decent chance that the Bucs will win the game.
Yeah.
The other one I would mention is Travis Kelce had very good odds. I clicked away from the page to look up Malcolm Butler. And Sam, you were correct. He did not win Super Bowl MVP. But
Kelsey's 15-1.
Yeah, 15-1. So at those odds, like you could at least foresee a possibility where maybe Mahomes throws a couple interceptions, doesn't look great. Kelce gets 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of them is the game-winning touchdown. It's unlikely. That's why it's 15-1. But,
yeah,
he's been amazing, and he's always amazing in the playoffs. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a good long shot too. All right, who wants to give me another prop?
First, is Travis Kelce and Gronkowski the same age?
No. Why would you ask that?
I thought I saw that earlier, and I was really flabbergasted by it.
I don't think so.
I'm looking it up right now.
That can't be.
Travis Kelce is 31. Rob Gronkowski is 31.
Wow, that is right.
Wow.
That's wild, isn't it?
That's shocking.
I guess Gronk has just had so many
but
more injuries, huh?
I think he's been in the league. Has he been in the league longer too?
That I couldn't say, and I won't.
All right. So I have 2 Tom Brady props that go hand in hand. That if I'm betting one, I'm definitely betting the other. And if you possibly can parlay them, possibly with the same game parlay on FanDuel, no free ads though. I would do that, and I'm going to. A Tom Brady anytime touchdown is plus 380. I mean, we already know Tom Brady's the greatest rushing quarterback of all time. Not rushing quarterback, QB sneak quarterback of all time.
One of the worst rushing quarterbacks, really.
Yeah, he's terrible at rushing, but the QB sneak play, he's definitely the best quarterback to ever implement that play. And if he's going to sneak for a touchdown, it's going to be for at least half a yard. And his over rushing yards prop is over 0.5 yards rushing for plus 146. You got to take them both.
It's like you took the words right out of my mouth. I am pounding those. Absolutely.
It's even if it doesn't win, I don't care.
And you lose,
the odds
exactly.
are too good. Yeah, the odds are too good though.
Seth, what you got?
For my kind of boring one to start off is Patrick Mahomes over 28.5 pass completions. That's plus 105. So not really a long shot at all. But I feel like they're going to be passing a lot. Tampa Bay's run defense is really good. So
do you believe he's only done that 6 times this year?
It's about to be 7, baby. And then moving to the other ones, I have Darrell Williams to score plus 200. I just, anytime they get in close, could always hand it off. And then my fun one is over under players to throw a pass 2.5 plus 130. So if there's one trick play, boom.
That's always a fun one.
Has either of these teams ran I don't know if any of these teams have ran a play this year. I mean, if they're going to pull it out, though, the Super Bowl is the time to do it. So
that's what I was thinking about.
I feel like Tyreek Hill throws passes sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about who would do it because I was like, I really want to bet that, but they don't have.
Kelsey's thrown a couple passes to Mahomes at the goal line this year.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, Andy Reid always has something up his sleeves.
Yeah, up his Hawaiian sleeves.
Speaking of the Brady sneak, one I always like is the shortest touchdown under 1.5 yards. It's 6 out of 8 of the last Super Bowls that's hit, and one of the 8 was when Russell Wilson threw the interception on the 1 yard line. So if they had just ran the ball, that probably would have hit too. And like if you get a pass interference in the end zone, that's the ball at the 1. Like it's a very easy one to hit, I feel. But you do have to lay. It's minus 155, but you might as well lay that. The other one I wanted to talk about is, like I said, I feel like Super Bowls often start slow. Neither team to score opening drive touchdown is plus 115. I like that a lot. I feel like I don't see either team score on their opening drive.
It's score a touchdown or score it all?
Score a touchdown, yeah.
I wouldn't go against that one. I would say either one of those teams could very easily score a touchdown on their opening drive.
Of course they could. That's why it's plus 115.
115 to not. So
yeah, that's why it's not minus.
Right? Yeah, it's not the favorite. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I like the favorite side.
I like it. I don't think either team scores on their opening drive. Similarly, I found a prop that says what will happen first, a sack or a touchdown. Sack is plus 130. Absolutely pounding that as well.
Yeah, I would take that.
As we know, my strategy for winning this game for the Bucs is get pressure on Mahomes. So if I don't think there's going to be a touchdown on either opening drive, all I have to do is have a sack in the first 2 drives, and I'm golden. So I like both of those. We have to discuss the Gatorade.
Sure.
I'm going yellow.
For what reason?
I'll tell you why, okay? Did a little research for this. So since 2001... Orange has happened 5 times.
But how many times of that was Andy Reid the coach? Or was Bruce Arians the coach?
1 last year.
And was it yellow last year?
Why'd you ask that? No, it was orange. Okay. Clear has happened 4 times. Yellow 3 and blue 2. But there's been no clear since 2008. They just don't do clear anymore. So we're really looking at orange, yellow, or blue. Okay? Orange, yellow, blue are the main 3. Well,
is clear Gatorade a thing or is that water?
It says clear/water. So you really get both, which is nice. So
there's no such thing as clear Gatorade, so it's just water. That's what I'm asking.
I feel like there is.
No, there is clear Gatorade. Yeah. Or maybe they're counting like the ice one,
If they're counting the ice one, that's white. That's definitely not clear. It's not see-through.
I think they count that. I'm guessing. But anyway, so for me, the heavy hitters are yellow, blue, and orange, right? 2018 yellow, 2019 blue, 2020 orange. Yellow's up, baby. So, book it. Plus 450. What do you mean, why?
You just listed the last 3.
I just love those odds.
You just listed the last 3 years were the top 3. So what makes you say it's going to be yellow?
Because it was yellow, blue, orange. Yellow's up again.
That's not how. All right.
Does anyone have any better reasoning for what Gatorade color is going to be? It's going to be dropped.
It's an extremely. You heard it here first. It's an extremely minus EV bet to bet on the Gatorade color. So
a minus EV bet. I just like the odds. Plus 450 yellow.
Blue.
Blue.
Not going to recommend anything.
Okay, Kyle, have a little fun here.
I recommend don't bet on the Gatorade color.
Obviously, it's just fun to think about it. My God.
Pink. It's red/pink.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. There's a separate one for red, and yet from the history I was looking at, they didn't mention red at all. So I thought red and orange were the same or something.
Purple being plus 900, it's the best Gatorade flavor there is anyways. Why
Purple's my favorite color. Maybe I'll switch to that. Both in general and in Gatorade.
I agree. I'm with you.
Purple hasn't happened in some time, so maybe it's time.
Right, exactly. Just same logic as you just had.
So wait, what are you going with then, Kyle?
I'm going to take purple if I have to take. I'm going to take the best odds just because if it hits, then you win the most money.
See, was that so hard, Kyle? Did that really hurt you to say what the Gatorade color is going to be? Oh my God, he passed out.
I wouldn't bet real money on it.
All right. Well, all these props are dumb anyway. What's your next prop, Kyle? You have anything else?
Patrick Mahomes over 3.5 rushing attempts. That's minus 134, but I mean,
like that.
11 games this year, he's gone over that. Now they're down, as we've mentioned multiple times, a couple linemen, so the opportunities for scrambling is just that much higher.
Yeah.
That's good. To have a safety occur is plus 900. What do we think about that?
There's not going to be a safety.
But if there is, 9-1 odds, same as purple
great.
Gatorade.
Yeah, I'd rather bet on purple Gatorade. I feel like that's got a higher chance of hitting.
Wow. I think I'll be wagering on the safety.
Of course you will.
Just for a little fun.
You wager on a defensive touchdown anytime you bet on a football game. So.
And one time it hit, but it was just the other team. All right. Well, all those lines were from FanDuel. So if you're listening, FanDuel, sponsor us, please. Our only sponsor currently is Bird Box.
We have a new sponsor. www.thenftshow.com. Visit www.thenftshow.com to stay up to date on all things non-fungible tokens. And if you're wondering what the hell is a non-fungible token, go to www.thenftshow.com to find out.
Thank you. I can't wait for our next advertising check in the mail for that.
It'll be coming out of my pocket, so.
All right, well, that was the great Super Bowl preview Palooza. If remember, kids, if you bet on one thing, it's Gatorade.
Jesus Christ.
Any final thoughts for the listeners? Seth, I know you don't have one. He just yelled "fuck," so I'm not sure.
He's watching. He's got to be watching the Boston game.
He's definitely not paying attention.
Missed 3.
We can't be.
Kyle, any thoughts?
Let's ride old Tom's coattails into the abyss with a nice dub.
I'm gonna set it better myself.